Hello and welcome back to the Logging Off podcast. It's been, I think, 3 weeks since we've sat together, chat like this. My bad. 2 weeks ago, we had the joint episode with me and Joshua in the comic room podcast room. And then last week, it was a mixture of a few things. It was Joshua's birthday primarily, and I was just kind of in the thick of planning and coordinating and surprising him with stuff. So it just fell through the cracks, so I'm sorry about that. It's today. For you, it's the day of the Severance finale. For me, as I record this, it's the day before. It's Severance finale eve. That's how I structure my days and my weeks, apparently, is what media is coming out. We've got, we're one day after Daredevil Born Again, and one day pre-Severance, which, gosh, that is crazy. There's another show coming out soon. What's upcoming shows? It's in a franchise that I like. I just searched upcoming shoes. So close. Dexter. That's not it. There's a new John Hamm show. Your Friends and Neighbors. After being fired in disgrace, a hedge fund manager resorts to stealing from his neighbors' homes in affluent Westmont Village, only to discover that the secrets hidden beneath the wealthy facades might be more dangerous. Ooh, that comes out April 11th? Sold. I'm watching that. I've loved John Hamm since Daredevil. No, so close. Mad Men. Mad Men is so great. Marvel Zombies is coming out. Ironheart. Who? Upcoming American TV. Marvel TV series. Now, what's that? What is Ironheart? Riri Williams, a brilliant MIT student, creates her own high-tech suit armor inspired by the legacy of Tony Stark as she navigates and that's where the previews cuts off. Dominique Thorne is the star. Oh, why have I heard nothing about this? Okay, cool, exciting. I swear there's something else though, so maybe like Star Wars related. Eyes of Wakanda, another animated series. Warriors of Wakanda travel the world retrieving vibranium artifacts. August 6th. Hold on. We might be stacked. Maybe it's a movie. Upcoming movie. What movie coming? Oh, Fantastic Four. That's probably what I'm thinking of. Fantastic Four and Shrek 5. Wait, that's December. Okay, Google. We have a lot of reasons to beef. The reason that we're beefing today, the reason I'm beefing with Google today is because I searched upcoming movies. And the top 5 that it showed me are Jurassic World Rebirth, Final Fantasy mention, The Fantastic Four, Final Steps, Thunderbolts, Dune Messiah, and Shrek 5. Wow, oh my gosh, Shrek 5? Release date, December 23rd, 2026. That's awesome that you think I'm going to live forever and that you have so much hope in the future, but that doesn't feel soon to me. Call me crazy? I don't think that's very soon. Wait, the cover says July 1st. Is Shrek 5 ever coming out? That's the first question. Lord Farquaad's not in it? Well, yeah, obviously he's dead. He got eaten. What a dumb question. Is Eddie Murphy in Shrek 5? This is important. Shrek 5, although the images, I really hope that they will take the Sonic route and work on some redesigns. I am all for updating animation. Like, okay, how do I say this? I don't know much about animation, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. But something about the style of the teaser video for Shrek, it just doesn't feel like Shrek. Like they took a bit of the like grime out of it, you know? Like it feels too soft. It feels too like the lighting is too, you know what? I'll put this picture on screen. It's got, in these two comparison videos, theoretically this is in the same place. The lighting in the OG movies looks like outdoor lighting. It looks like the sun is shining on you. Versus the second one just looks like studio lighting. Ew. It just doesn't look like Shrek. And the daughter, people are already predicting that she's going to be a bunch of like cringe Gen Z stereotypes. Like I actually despise when movies put in, this happened to millennials so much, and it happens just as much to Gen Z. And it gets worse and worse over the years because trends develop. And the things people are saying, like communication happens so fast and so intensely now and so globally that phrases that were popular right now will be out of the norm in like 3 weeks. Like, what are people saying on TikTok right now? TSPMO, TBH. It's already becoming cringe. So if someone today writes Shrek 5, she's going to write TSPMO atop the outhouse because someone left a fat dookie and didn't flush it. It's going to feel so incredibly outdated by the time that it comes out. So I felt this when I was growing up, like when I was 15, 16, and I was seeing jokes in movies that were already like 6 months outdated. It's way worse now. It's so much worse now. I think movies need to do better. I think movies, this weirdly actually ties into something I wanted to mention today. I think movies like this need to do a better job of removing their characters and removing their writing from time and not giving the audience like dead giveaways of modern trends that they're trying to imitate. Like it really, I notice it in books a ton. It happens a lot more, I feel like, nowadays in movies. You can tell, like, when I'm watching Shrek is fantasy folklore. You know, whatever you will label you want to attach to it, it is fantasy folklore. It is dragons and mythical creatures and ogres and spells and witches. Like it has all the royalty, like it has all of the pieces of medieval fantasy. So I don't want to be thinking about TSPMO when I'm watching Shrek 5. I don't think anyone does. It's not funny. It's not funny to the parents who are watching. The Gen Z, or dare I say Gen Alpha, who's watching it, it's not funny to them either. Okay, nobody's laughing, and it's so niche that it's gonna ruin. Like the movie is feeling spoiled. Like it has a boil on it before it even comes out. Anyway, that's just an example, and I pray that they will work a bit on the design, and will not do that in this next movie. But it just Shrek has maintained, despite the fact that we haven't had a Shrek movie in last Shrek movie. Shrek Forever After 2010. The last Shrek movie was 15 years ago. All good. Slight existential crisis, but I'm just going to breeze past it. It's despite that fact, Shrek and the Shrek universe is so beloved. Don't mess it up. Okay? Don't mess it up. The older fans, the millennials, will hate you. You better watch out. You don't want to see my angry side. I'm actually not a millennial. Well, it's up for debate because I was born in 1996. Some people say that the cutoff is 1995 for millennials. So basically, like, I grew up with the millennials being the older siblings of my friends, growing up, looking up to them, and admiring millennials, especially like elder millennials. But at minimum, I'm like a elder Gen Z. I don't know. I just feel like the middle child between the two. Whatever. Generations are stupid. Generations, on one hand, it's like a nice marker of time and culture progression. Like we need those kind of benchmarks in our, or not benchmarks, chapters, whatever. We need that in our history. But generation, age differences, it's just another way for us to categorize ourselves. It's just another way that we put dividers between ourselves. Don't we have enough? Don't we have enough things dividing us? Anyway, Shrek 5, I hope it doesn't suck. I hope the Severance finale doesn't suck either, which I don't think it will. I still feel so torn about season 2. So Joshua is much, much, much more frustrated with it than I am. I am frustrated, and I understand his frustration about the fact that Mark has like barely moved in like 5 episodes. We've gotten a lot of information, but I can definitely see an argument, and I think there's truth to it, that the show has become a little bit pretentious in the way that it is revealing information. Like, regardless of how big and expansive the Lumen problem is, and how big it involves everybody, I'm pretty sure. Every character is interesting. That doesn't change the fact that Mark S. is our main character. It's our main character. We want to know what he's doing. So having him be like in and out of like a groggy, like comatose state for like 4 episodes in a row. We just got like a few crumbs of him in the last episode. It's just like not enough movement forward. And I think that you're asking too much of your audience, while meanwhile giving them so little of our main storyline, which I'm so conflicted by. And I said this, I don't know if I said this. I don't know. I make too much media. I don't know where I said it. I'll just say it again. If you heard it again, if you heard this already, I'm really sorry. But anyway, I forgot. Because I'm like staring down the 2 barrels of Shrek's eyes on my monitor right now. That's why I'm so disoriented. Let me close this. Maybe I should just look at a picture of Severance to just get me in the right headspace. See what I did there? Okay, Severance. So I guess why I'm so torn about it is because I have enjoyed every single episode. And I really think, what I was going to say is that Severance season 2, it seems to be built for the binge watchers. I think Joshua would have enjoyed season 2 way more if we could have just back-to-back binged the episodes. So we wouldn't have to wait week after week, hoping to find out. We need to see the moment where Mark S. and Mark fully come together as one person. Like we want to be in the trenches of that experience. And we've gotten little bits of it, but it's all been kind of abstract. It's all been kind of far away. We saw from the last episode, Mark, they are not one person yet. Like they had to transition to get to any Mark. And that's where the last episode left us. So apparently the last episode is going to be like 70 minutes. Winnable. And I think I will still smile upon the show favorably. I think probably no matter what, I'm just into it. What can I say? I'm a fan. But I can still critique it, and I see I think that there is valid critique. I also think there's a lot of glazing of like, I love the show, therefore it can do no wrong. That is just not how media is. That's not how it works. It's not flawless. And I think the people who are suffering the most, the people who are getting the worst experience with Severance are the people who are live watching it right now in 2025. And people who binge watch in the future will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe anyone complained about season 2. Because their perception of it is going to be totally different. They're going to, like, this episodes are so, like, you want the next thing. So it's the sensation of leaving every episode feeling unsatisfied. Like, that sucks, but I can tolerate it if I can just click the next episode. That's how I was watching Breaking Bad. And those episodes were like an hour long each. What a great show. What a great show. Changed my personality for a while. And really, I should not have binged the show. It really affected me negatively. Anyway, great show. Severance finale. For you, it's tonight. So, gear up. I hope that we have a great time. I think it does deserve to be a cultural phenomenon. I just want answers. And Joshua said this morning, I need the finale to kind of validate my frustration with waiting. The testing of my patience. Like, I need that to be acknowledged. And I really do think that they're capable of doing that. I just don't know how. So I'm hoping for a big surprise. I'm hoping for something that just like knocks my socks off. Is that an innuendo? I don't know. Anyway, I've come to learn many things are innuendos that I use on a regular basis that I didn't realize. Like glazing is an innuendo, obviously. Yeah, obviously it's an innuendo. How's it hanging? That's an innuendo. I will stop. I don't want to ruin them all for you. Okay, so I kind of just yapped for 20 minutes. But something I think I want to add a little bit of structure to the podcast instead of just me talking. It will still just be me talking with like bumpers on it. So I think the 2 categories I want to make sure I hit on every week are media that moved me and personal growth. Personal growth, which those 2 could very much be intertwined, but so is everything. It's all interlinked. We already yapped about media, but I got more. Okay, let's talk about books. The point about movies being out of time. I said that I want to talk about that a little bit in a different way. I was considering, do I want to talk about like news, like pop culture? Maybe, but not. I don't want to have to talk about pop culture. So I don't think Joshua and my dad's podcast has a news segment, which just makes sense because they do. Their podcast is very subject oriented. This is not. So I think I want the podcast to feel a little bit out of time. Obviously, if we're live watching TV shows, that's impossible. But yeah. No, I'm not going to add a news segment because what news am I going to say? I would have to do like gotcha news, gaming news, book news. Like it would be so transient to whatever I was into that it's like, what's the point? So if I'm going to talk about what I like anyway, so we'll just leave it at that. Daredevil is so freaking awesome. If I will not start talking about Daredevil because if I do, I will scream and cry. I was a guest on Joshua's podcast last week. If you want to hear more conversation about that, I'll put a link to it in the description. Last episode, me and Joshua went back, spoiler, watched the Punisher scene like 4 times to make sure we got every detail. It was such an amazing dynamic. It was so like lost. It had so much like brotherly affection. It made me weak. Like Matt allowing himself to express his emotions. Well, not even really allowing. He just being in the presence of someone so burdened by the truth, like Frank Castle. And Frank beating the truth out of Mark, proverbially, to the point where I'm looking at a Severance screen. Matt is going from trying to keep his like cool lawyer persona and then trying to just be personable and then lashing out and hitting Frank and then apologizing, trying to reel it back in, trying to stay cool, and then crying, uncontrollably being crying. It was just so beautiful, and it took such a short time for Frank Castle to just break down Matt Murdock's barriers. And I love that. I love it. Speaks volumes to the depth of their relationship. Oh my gosh. And it still highlighted the differences between them, the conflicts between them, and the way that they do things like that. It was incredible. But yeah, they just also, I have to put some respect on John Bernthal for originally refusing to be a part of Daredevil Born Again, because he did not like the way that they were going to take Frank Castle's character, the direction they were taking the Punisher. I respect that so much, and I'm so glad that the community collectively bullied Disney and Marvel into making a Daredevil that we wanted to watch. Great, love it. Daredevil was really what got me like sucked into superhero movies. There's superhero vigilanteism, which is, he's kind of like he's a very like grassroots, down to earth, like street level hero, which I love. It's very personable. It's like much more connected to life. It's not as epic per se, but it really gets down and gritty. And it's just something that me and Joshua's got to bond over. So I'm going to stop. That's all I'm going to say about Daredevil. That's all about Daredevil. But that does fit into the media that moved me category. So, okay. Ooh. Where do I put this? Does this count as media that moved me? I think it does. So I recently, because it is media, and it was moving to me. I spectated someone called Valentina Eve, who is currently the #1 Marvel Rivals player worldwide. At the time that I chose to spectate them, #5 in the world. Plays every strategist, I think, except Jeff, which I think is super based. Has like 10 minutes on Jeff. I spectated Valentina. Great learning experience just as a baseline, right? I make 2 videos out of it. I posted the second one today, one Luna, one Mantis. So when I posted the Mantis one, I shared a tweet with a highlight, and I said, like, spent some time spectating Valentina Eve, learned so much. Here's just a glimpse of them making the most out of a double situation. Valentina, who I took me forever to find on Twitter, quote retweeted it and said, was excited, which was cool. And then comments on my YouTube that they knew who I was. They watched my Genshin stuff way back. It was a really sweet comment that it was cool for them to be looked up to by me because of because of what our relationship was previously, which was a parasocial in the inverse. So the fact that our relationship, like that it was a parasocial relationship one way, and then a parasocial relationship the other way, and now it's like spreading across time. Sorry, not to get too cosmic with it, but that's kind of amazing. And life is amazing because how is that? I forget also sometimes that Genshin is such a global phenomenon that literally everyone on the face of the earth who played games, especially like PC games, RPGs, knows of or has played Genshin Impact at some point, probably in like 2021, even if it was just for a couple of months. And because I was present for that, a lot of people just, by nature of the fact that you could post a freaking Gamba video and get 2 million views, happen to know who I am. So to go from that, just having this super weird butterfly effect and getting to like in turn uplift this person for just being an incredible player and learning from them in a totally new space. I just thought that was really cool and so unexpected. So unexpected. I'm still always surprised when people know me. Getting recognized in person throws me off so bad because, I mean, it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, or when someone is like staring at me, especially if it's like a girl, like a younger, like teen, I'm always a little bit weirded out. And it takes me a moment to be like, realize, oh, it's possible that I'm not being judged for my outfit. It might be possible that they know me because they downloaded Genshin for a few months in 2021. Life is so weird. Okay, yeah. Anyway, congrats to Valentina, if you ever see this, for hitting number 1. Totally deserved. I'm going to keep watching because I want to learn more. Okay. Reading time. Dishes reading corner. Because I don't really buy physical books, I can never be like, I'm reading all the books in this series and look at them all on my thumbnail. I have to always just show you my black and white Kindle screen, but it's way more cost effective, especially when things like Libby exist and you can borrow books and share books and stuff. So what have I been reading? Okay, first of all, I'm going to simulate the effect of having this book with me. I finished Words of Radiance. Oh, dude! Sorry, I just screamed. What a journey. What a journey. What a delight. How moving and meaningful are these stories? I'm gonna pull up my highlights, see if there's anything in particular I want to share with you. It literally took everything in me not to just immediately download the next book. But I haven't, and there's still many boxes to open in the story, in the lore, but I have chosen to go back and read. I'm currently reading Mistborn. I'm about 35, maybe 40% through the first book. Loving it. It's much more palatable, and like the lore, oh my gosh, compared to the Stormlight Archive, the lore is much more like on a need to know basis, which, you know, sometimes you do need to know it, even just for not even for the plot, but for depth of story. I think the Stormlight Archive assumes that you have some sort of rapport. You know what? I never know how to pronounce that word. Rapport. Why is there a T? Mech is probably not an English word. Rapport. It assumes that you have some rapport or some sort of respect for Brandon Sanderson, some trust. I think trust is the big one. Because, good gracious, you will get into the heat of a moment and then it'll be like, end of part 2. Here's 100 pages of characters, POVs that you've never heard of. Listen up. You're not going to know what's happening for half of this, but listen closely because we are going to need this Mickey Mouse tool later. All good. Still loved it. Loved every second of it. But yeah, Mistborn is definitely, if you're I still think it's worth it. Like, now that I'm 2 books into Stormlight, I don't regret it. But if I think I would tell anyone, read Mistborn first, because I would say within like 50 pages, you're like, okay, I mean, it doesn't have the typical like 100 pages. You have to give this book 100 pages to world build before you're going to feel like you care about the story. I don't think Mistborn is like that. I would say, realistically, it was probably like 40 pages before I was like, okay, I'm connecting with the characters. I understand the conflict. I understand the plot, at least from like a surface level. There's mystical questions that I want answered. So it took less time to do that in Mistborn than it took in Way of Kings. Um, let's see. I have lots of little lines highlighted. As I fear not a child with a weapon he cannot lift, I will never fear the mind of a man who cannot think. Unlike a sword, scorn only has the bite you give it. This attempt to destroy me will then vindicate me instead. Just, it's all contextual, but it just really speaks to the integrity of the particular character who said it. Why is my camera out of battery? Oh, it's not plugged in. Oh no. Yeah, it was just great. It was great to have the context of the characters, loving the characters, knowing them. It was just like the joy and excitement of the Way of Kings amplified. So I enjoyed the Amplifier. I loved Words of Radiance. And then I took a hard left. Hard left. And I read, where is it? And I read Printing Press Letters, Fourth Wing. I read Fourth Wing. I read it for a video. TLDR, I posted a video on TikTok about how I DNF'd the book because the writing was so bad. And I got a mixture of, this book was so great, you just have to stick it through and get through the certain cringy parts. And then the other half, which was like, yeah, this book sucked. It's so overrated. I can't believe it's so popular. It's one of the worst books I've ever read. So I decided I need to read this book to decide for myself. I'll just give you the short version because I'm making a whole video about it where I like, these are all my notes about Fourth Wing. You can't see. These are 2 like full-size pages, almost complete with notes, divided into categories. But I was super fair. I rated it through categories: world building, plot and story, romance, character development, line level writing, and then page turner value. It was a solid 2 stars out of 5 after reading it. It honestly had a lot of really great... I honestly tried so hard to like it because it had so many great bones, a great skeleton, awesome potential, setup potential, but it fell flat and fell apart in so many areas. I was honestly very disappointed because I wanted to like it so much. And there are so many elements of it that I like, but the way that it all meshed together, I cannot in any good conscience rate it above 2 stars. I think my technical rating is 42%, which is 2.2 stars. So technically I can't rate it higher than 2 stars, but 2.2 stars is the highest I'm going to go. I understand why people like it. It was just not for me. And I don't even know if the plot twist at the end is enough for me to, or the cliffhanger. I don't even know if that's enough to make me want to read the second book. So I think my initial assessment was right. I could have gone my whole life without reading Fourth Wing. I have a lot more that I have said about this book that will go into more detail about the things that I did like and the things that I didn't like. But that's going to be a full video on my side channel or on Daily Dish. Nope. Dish Great. And as I already said, I am now currently reading Mistborn, the Mistborn trilogy. I got the omnibus of the first 3 Mistborn books so that I wouldn't have to pay for each one individually, and they were much cheaper as a bundle. But now it's telling me, like, how am I supposed to feel when this is telling me I'm 282 pages in and I'm only 10% done? How is that supposed to feel? So I'm like, I literally converted. I took the amount of pages in the first Mistborn book from this copy, and then I take the amount of pages and I like run I do the maths, and then I write that percentage into Goodreads just so I can know how far I am actually, which I think it's about 37% through the book. Loving it so much. I love the characters. Oh, I think this just does a really great job of zooming way, way in. Zooming way, way in at the very beginning to give us something to hold on to. And it's starting small. I think that's what really great fantasy authors often do in really expansive, complicated worlds like the Cosmere, is they start small. They start just with the ska, just with a small section of the ska to establish culture, establish context and social hierarchy in a personable way at the very beginning. It brings us into the environment and it makes it real. And it doesn't try to tackle every component of the magic system, every component of the world and of the conflict right away. It gives us enough to understand what we are, to understand what we're doing, gives us enough of something to bite on to bring us to the next. Like, it doesn't really explain how allomancy works, but you get there and you know enough to be able to draw the lines. Like, oh, he's using metal to perform magic. Okay, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. Not in my time as a reader. But yeah, I'm loving it. I know I'm already starting to fall in love with these characters, which scares me because I highly doubt they're all going to make it through to the end of this thing. They're already kind of teasing it, but love it. Love the Cosmere. I've continued to read Morning Star, which is the third book in the Red Rising series. I kind of just listen to it when I'm driving or when I'm walking. I'm not as in love with this book, The Morning Star, the third book, as I was with the first two. Like Golden Sun. I know this is kind of a hot take, but Golden Sun was my favorite of the three so far. I don't know what it was. It's all kind of jumbled in my head now, but I think the Golden Sun conflict was, I don't know, I found it really enchanting and interesting, but yeah, I guess I'm very much in a fantasy mood. Fantasy, like high fantasy, medieval-esque magic world. So I'm not as into, I think I'm just not in the right headspace for Red Rising. So I've put a pause on it for now, but I'll finish it. I'm pretty close to being done with Morningstar. I'm like 80% through. Okay. I don't think there's any other media I wanted to talk about. Okay, personal growth segment. So this, I'm going to be honest, this is still a little uncomfortable for me to talk about, but I think it's really important, so I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to force myself to talk about it. I downloaded this app called Lively, and it's a menstrual cycle tracking app. But it's more than that. It is like it's like your personal, like, medical health assistant through every day. And I think it's every month my luteal phase sneaks up on me. And for our listeners who don't know, luteal phase is a week before menstruation, and it is the low. It's just like it's characterized by a dramatic drop in hormones, and for me, I always get in my own head every single month during that week. And I feel like I always forget that it's going to happen. Like, your energy, I can't explain. It feels like you're running on 4 hours of sleep when you're used to running on 8. Like, it feels like you start the day with 40% of the energy that you usually have. And it's very frustrating, but it's just, I think I've had to just accept, like, that is how it is. There are things you can do to help it, but that is just how it is. So downloading Lively was on a recommendation of a friend, and it was helpful because I kind of downloaded it when I was in the depths of despair and woe, and it helped me kind of categorize, how do I say this? I think what I'm learning to do with this app is work around myself instead of trying to force myself into a mode that I literally physically cannot get into. And this app, so it tracks your cycle, and you write, you tell it where you're at. But then you can log your symptoms like usual. You can log like happy, energy level, what's your mood, symptoms, other stuff, which I won't get into, things that you ate. Did you exercise? Like what kind of exercise? But then it has this tip tab, which you kind of can't see. Sorry, it's really dark. And it has things to do, things to eat, and moving. So for each phase, there are different different things that you are going to be good at. So for me right now, on the 14th day of my cycle, it tells me decisions is one of the things that it recommends today. Maximize mental sharpness you feel to handle complex decisions. Think thoroughly through your decisions step by step to ensure the best outcome. Leadership. This might bring a surge of self-confidence, making it an excellent time to take leadership roles. You may feel more assertive and more self-assured in guiding others. This phase is known for improved communication skills. Use this to your advantage in leadership by clearly articulating ideas, motivating your team, and effectively handling discussions. Versus your luteal phase, which near the end of it, it's like you may benefit from a lot of alone time. A lot of a time to just be in tune with your body, allow yourself to rest, allow yourself to genuinely rest. I'm talking slower. So I how do I say this? I'm a very reserved person in this type of stuff. I'm really struggling to even talk about this or like use these kinds of words. So just bear with me. I think what was so great about this right away was having an external entity reaffirm that I am not crazy for feeling the way that I feel. Like it is not crazy for me to feel down in the dumps, to overthink during my luteal phase. It's also like, it's okay for me to not function at my best during those times. Like there are other things that I can do, other ways that I can be effective for myself, for my family during the times where my body is at its literal lowest. And versus like, I think what I often do and what I make a mistake, how I make a mistake is I make big plans and I capitalize on the times where I feel my best, but then when my body inevitably like needs a time of rest, I don't allow it, and I take that as like a point of failure when it's literally not my fault. Like it's literally, there's some things I can do to help it, but I cannot physiologically change that my hormones are down to like nothing. Yes, so it was so nice to have an outside entity validating my experience pretty much and teaching me how to work around things that I can't change, which is, fundamental to life. Learning how to make the most of the time that I have and not expecting myself to be one way all the time. And that is beneficial on both fronts. It's good for me to know that I'm not going to be high energy. I'm not going to be motivated, confident, just by nature of my physiology all the time. But I'm also not going to be overthinking, down in the dumps, lost, confused, tired, hopeless all the time. And that there are things that you can do, exercising, different types of food, different types of experience that can help balance both of those different states and the other states that you will experience. So if you feel that this would help you, honestly, I would really recommend it. The app's called Lively. There's a free version and there's a paid version. The paid version is like $20 a year. I just got the paid version because I wanted to see what it was about. But it's been really, really helpful for me so far. And I hope it will be for you too. Okay, that's actually all I got. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week. If you're a Severance gamer, Severance viewer, I hope you enjoy the finale. And let me know what you got going on this week in the comments. I'll see you there. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Logging off. Bye.